but it's just been incredible. And just seeing these kids catch their first fish and being on a boat, seeing dolphins and learning about conservation, like, why aren't we keeping that fish? Well, it's not in season, or it's not big enough, or, whatnot. They're learning something and making that connection with nature and gaining self-confidence as well. It's just the greatest thing in the world.
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer Podcast, inspiring real women with a passion for fishing in the outdoors to go get their adventure on. Now, here's your host, Master Captain Angie Scott.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Woman Angler and Adventurer Podcast. Today, I am super excited to introduce our special guest, Misty Wells. Misty is a Florida native, an outdoor enthusiast, and a mom who's made it her mission to get people of all ages involved in the great outdoors. She's the creator of Let's Take It Outside, which is a multi-platform series that encourages people to experience the thrill of outdoor adventures. She's also the founder of A Real Future, an organization dedicated to taking children in foster care fishing and teaching them about conservation. Misty, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. This has been a long time in the making.
It sure has.
As we've been talking about every time we see each other over the years, and we follow each other on social media. And this is something I've been wanting to do with you and get on your amazing podcast. So thank you so much for the great introduction and for having me today.
Absolutely. Well, when you were saying that, I just had a flashback of way back when we met in person at the Cast for a Cure fishing tournament up in, I think we were in Gallatin, Tennessee, with the three legends, Bill Dance, Roland Martin, and Jimmy Houston. And we talked about doing this way back then. So I'm excited.
Oh my gosh. That's been a long time ago. That was, before I even had the TV show.
Yep.
So, but what a great place to meet. And that was such a great event. It was put on by Chris Young, the country star, I should say. And it was so cool. And I hope, he revives that because it was incredible. And they raised a lot of money for cancer research and things. I know that's close to home for him. Yep. He had some of that in his family, probably like most people. Mm-hmm. So what a cool place to meet. That was fun.
Yeah, it was funny. So I was still working in the music industry at the time, which is how I kind of got involved in that. And I actually fished it from my little 16-foot Quest pontoon boat. And
hey, if it floats, you can fish in it. Who cares?
I have a great memory from that, where I had, I only had a 25 horse motor on that boat, so I couldn't go very fast. So I kind of fished around the launch area as much as I could. And there was like a hump out there that I was sitting on. And after a while, who comes up next to me on like the next hump over but Bill Dance?
Well, then you're in a good spot.
Exactly. So I didn't actually get to weigh in any big bass or anything, but it was a lot of fun. So
well, yeah, just to be around those guys and the three of them together, that's such a special thing, and they're such amazing people, all three of them. I know Bill really well. I've gotten to know him, and I've actually fished and filmed with Jimmy and Roland, quite a few times. Jimmy and I have been on some big adventures.
That's so cool. I was, they were getting ready to do it again in 2020. And so I was tapped to go down to the Bassmaster Classic and try to get all three of them together and film a promo video for it. And we did. And unfortunately, that tournament that year ended up getting canceled because of COVID. But I had the footage from the promo So I ended up just for fun putting it out on YouTube, and it's gotten a ton of views because, those guys, the three of them together, anytime you get them together, they're going to be cutting up and doing
Oh
crazy
yeah.
stuff. And so that was a blast. But yeah, I'm like you. I hope Chris is maybe able to continue that at some point in the future. But
Yeah,
yeah.
he's busy, touring and coming out with new albums and all kinds of stuff, but I hope he does.
Yep, absolutely. Well, let's start from the beginning and introduce you to our audience for those who aren't familiar. You were born and raised in Clearwater, Florida. So, how did growing up in such a beautiful place influence your love for the outdoors?
So, of course, I mean, that's what Florida's all about, and that's why people move here. Being a native of Florida, we're a little bit of a unicorn these days, but we do exist, so it's pretty cool. And I'm really proud to be living where I grew up in Clearwater, which is amazing. I graduated from Clearwater High. My dad graduated from Clearwater High. Growing up, we never had a boat. My dad still doesn't have a boat, which is okay. And we always my best memories, especially with my dad and my uncles and everything, was going down to the beach, any beach, Clearwater Beach, going to Venice, Boca Grande, wherever, Sarasota, and fishing off the beach and shore fishing or going out on the jetties, any jetty, any pier. A lot of times, back then it wasn't built up like it is now. We just camp out on the beach overnight. Bring a sleeping bag. I don't even think we brought tents or anything. Bring a cooler and you bring your sleeping bag. You fish till you're tired, and just so much fun, and that's how I grew up in the outdoors. And, that's what we did. We didn't have anything big and fancy, but it was amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think the lure of that type of fishing, me, I grew up in Minnesota where, it's walleye, panfish, that type of thing, pike. But where you're at, the variety of fish that you can catch from just the same spot is unbelievable.
It is. It's unreal. Inshore fishing, depending on the time of year, this might blow some people's minds, but I mean, you can shallow water grouper fish. I mean, you're catching gag grouper, and when the water temps are cold, they come in shallow. I mean, in 2-3 feet of water, which is crazy. You can catch trout, snook, redfish, tarpon, mackerel. I mean, it's just crazy. We've caught kingfish off the beach.
Wow.
I mean, that's what one thing I do love about saltwater fishing is you can think what's going to happen, but you just really don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, so fast forward now, you've taken your love for the outdoors and turned it into a mission, really, with Let's Take It Outside. Can you tell us more about what inspired you to start that series?
Absolutely. And, I get that. A lot of people are like, how do you even do that? Where do you begin? Mm-hmm. How did it all happen? And mine wasn't really, I never sat around and thought, man, I'm so awesome. I should have a TV show. That never crossed my mind. It's kind of funny because I actually ended up co-hosting a radio show with someone. And then the radio station came and said, hey, you do a really good job. Maybe you should do a spinoff and do your own show. So, and I'll tell you guys a real funny story. So I'm like, great. So I'm ready to go. And I had Friday afternoons live drive time from 5 to 6 initially. And then we went to 2 hours. So I mean, in my opinion, I'm ready. I walk in the studio. My first day, it's going to be awesome. I hand my paperwork to the producer. I've got everything lined out, music, my call-ins, all this stuff. And he's like, okay, great. What's the name of your show? And I'm like, oh, crap. I, for some reason, didn't even think about a name for my show, which is crazy. So, of course, I didn't want to say that because I was embarrassed. So I said, well, hold on. I'll be right back. I left something in the car, in the truck. So I go out and I'm sitting in my truck. I turn on the AC because it's Florida, and the radio's on, and the Brantley Gilbert song's on the radio. And it's the one he says, take it outside, talking about getting in a fist fight. Let's take it outside and in the parking lot and get in a fight. And I'm like, that's it. His is take it outside. So I'm like, let's take it outside. So I'm all proud of myself. I walk back in the studio like 2 minutes later. I'm like, oh, the name of my show is Let's Take It Outside. So that's actually how I came up with the name of the show, listening to Brantley Gilbert. Still trying to get him on the show, but he has yet to respond to me.
Well, but I might be able to pull some strings for you.
Pull some strings. That's a true story. And, it's so awesome. Funny. But, I loved having the radio show, just, like your podcast. It's so awesome. And I did it for about 3 years. And I also started the outdoor column. I didn't start the outdoor column. I took it over for a year for the Tampa Bay Times. Unfortunately, when Terry Tomlin passed away, and he had done their outdoor column for, I think 20 years. Mm-hmm. Amazing guy, just so cool. I met him a few times and fished with him a couple times. And unfortunately, he passed. So I took it over for the paper for a year for them. And they said, hey, newspapers are getting a little antiquated. And we wonder, would you start doing a video series with your articles? So I was like, okay, sure. I've got a GoPro and a semi-okay camera and a daughter. So I was like, my daughter will be my cameraman. And she loved it and started filming for me. And this was before everybody and their brother had a YouTube. Yeah. And we started doing these cool 2-3 minute videos and people loved it. Someone from Fox Sports saw our videos and reached out, and that's where the conversation started about, putting together a TV show.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Great story.
Kind of crazy. Yeah.
And I remember when that happened, you're the first female host on Fox Sports, right?
That's true. I hate that that's true, but right. You would think in this day and age that wouldn't be the truth. But yeah, the first, and I believe it still holds true to right now, first female host of an outdoor show on Fox Sports. Oh. There's co-hosts and things like Bree, with Rick Murphy. She's amazing. I love her to death. But there aren't any females hosting their own show. I hope, girls, if you're listening, please get out there. There's plenty of room at the table for everybody.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. I'm actually, this is kind of a funny side note, but I've started with being down in Florida at the RV park. They have cornhole tournaments every Sunday. And
love it.
I started playing, and I was really, really terrible in the beginning. And then, of course, with any repetition, you get better. And right. I'm still nowhere near pro level, but I'm starting to really get into cornhole and watching tournaments. And it's the same thing with cornhole as with fishing. There's just not as many female competitors, and there is a female host on ESPN. They call her Mish. And she does women's cornhole trainings and things like that, and it's really cool to see. But it's funny, the parallels. I don't know what made me think of that, but it's just
no, but it's true. Yeah. Women are the minority in many, many things, especially when it comes to the outdoors, mm-hmm. for sure. Whether it's boating, fishing, hunting, cornhole. Yep. We just. Don't have many places at the table with that. And I think a little bit too, or a lot of it is an intimidation factor. There's mm-hmm. a lot of girls that want to do some stuff, but they either don't know how, or they're intimidated, or both. And that's why, I know you included and so many other women that we know together, we're always inclusive with who cares if you don't know how to do it? Let's do it together, because everybody starts at the same place. Yeah. Nobody that I know of, except maybe Tom Brady or Michael Jordan, are just innately amazing. We don't just roll in. It's everybody's first time. It's everybody's learning curve. And you just have to get over it. Who cares if you miss a fish? Who cares if you don't win the tournament. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, the fun part is just doing it, I think.
Yep. And that's why it's great to have people like you, where ladies can tune in to Fox Sports and see a woman hosting an outdoor show. And that type of stuff, the more that happens, the more ladies are young girls are gonna get the courage to start. And so
and I want them to watch it. And there's so many times I say on the show, it's funny, I'll watch it back. I'm like, man, I say that a lot. But I'm always saying, hey, I haven't done this before, but I'm doing it now, and I'm doing it on TV in front of a bunch of people. Obviously, I can't be an expert at everything because I'd be the most annoying person on the planet. And, I'm wrestling alligators. I'm hunting for pythons. Last I checked, I'm not an expert in any of that. I go with people that know what they're doing so I don't die or get hurt. But, aside from that, it's like, I'm not saying go out and do this on your own, but there's so many things I do in the show that I've never done or I'm pretty horrible at. But it's fun. And I don't, it's even more fun if you get successful. You're like, yay, I did it. So that's cool. But even if you don't, it just doesn't matter, you know?
I think we learn more from failure than success. So,
I know a lot. I'm pretty sure I have a PhD at this point.
Well, that's awesome. So as a mom, you've emphasized the importance of creating strong bonds with your children through outdoor activities. How has this approach affected your relationship with your own kids?
So it's been amazing. I raised my kids as a single mom. Let's see, they were pretty young when I became a single mom, like elementary school. So, and like a lot of people, a lot of regular working people, especially single moms, I didn't have a ton of, expendable money. We're not going to theme parks and doing all this stuff. And we honestly, how we lived our life, we were always having fun and doing outdoor adventures. And of course, I mean, honestly, there's things to do in the outdoors everywhere. I mean, there is. You just got to look. Mm-hmm. And it's fun and it brings you together. I mean, we'd go kayaking, paddleboarding, fishing off the beach. We'd get a pizza on Friday nights. My son would take the kayak and paddleboard or kayak out past the buoy, drop the hook. I'm on the beach with the rod and reel, and we'd shark fish. Sit there and eat a pizza and wait for the shark to come in and take the line. Just for fun, we'd let them go. But, what a cool way to spend Friday night, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. I wonder if you could still do that because I went to the beach in Fort Myers and we stopped and got sandwiches and I started to eat mine and a bird came and took my bread.
Yeah. Well, at night, the seagulls aren't out there. You got at night. Daytime, forget it. Yeah. Yeah. Daytime, they are the rats of the sky. But they have a purpose, so they clean the beaches up and steal your sandwich. So I guess they help us diet because they're always stealing our food.
Yeah. No, I've learned no food at the beach anymore. It's just not doable. Yeah. But at night, that's really a good tip. Okay.
Yeah. But just stuff like that. And my son is 25 now, believe it or not. My daughter just turned 23. My son served a term in the Coast Guard, which is amazing. And my daughter did the Navy. Oh, wow. So it's cool because they're back home. They live really close to me now, which of course I love. But that's still our MO. I mean, they're my favorite playmates. Anytime it's scallop season just opened up in Pasco County today.
Oh, cool.
So, we're looking to go up and do scallop season. We lobster together. We just kind of do everything together.
I love that. That's great. I know your boat is one of your biggest investments. In some cases, it's your office or your home. So protecting it with Polyform US fenders is a must. From the G-Series utility fenders to the heavy-duty F-Series fenders, Polyform will protect your wake boat, commercial fishing boat, or yacht. Their strong, single-piece construction is created with even wall thickness for maximum strength and durability. Polyform U.S. fenders are unparalleled in quality and offer the largest selection of sizes and colors in the market. They've been made in America for over 40 years and are trusted by boat owners worldwide as the best way to protect their investment on the water. Visit your local marine dealer and ask for Polyform U.S. fenders by name, or visit us online at polyformus.com. So let's shift gears and talk about a real future in foster care. Your work with that is very inspiring. Can you tell us about that initiative and how you've been able to, I think I read, take over 3,500 foster kids fishing?
Yeah, it's crazy. And one thing that I realized, this is my 10th year. I've been doing it 10 years. Wow. I didn't realize that. I was talking to someone about it, and I started it in 2014, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, it's just like the light bulb went off. I'm like, I've been doing this 10 years. It's incredible. It's so, you almost become speechless to talk about it. But I met a young boy named Andy about 11 years ago. And he was in foster care at the Florida Sheriff's Youth Ranch, and met him through fishing. And it was like his first time ever going fishing and doing stuff. And plus also living in Florida, that's horrible. Like, the fishing here is great, Yeah. So it really gave me the idea also, talking to my husband, which grew up in foster care. His parents gave him away when he was 6, which is really hard to imagine, but I don't think his mom could financially take care of him at that time, or kids. And he grew up in foster care. He ended up aging out. I didn't really know a lot about foster care, to be honest. It's something I hadn't thought about. I don't think most people think about it. So I started talking to him, talking to Andy, and, of course, how us women are. Well, I'm like, well, then we're just starting a nonprofit. We're going to take children in foster care fishing. So within a couple of days, you're putting it all together, and you're like, okay, we're doing it. And then Tommy's like, well, how are we going to pay for it? I'm like, I have no idea. I'm like, I don't know. I don't have any money. I'm a single mom. So, we started kind of self-funding the trips and taking kids out in groups of 6 to 10 to start with. And it just, it's just been going ever since. It's a, kind of mom and pop nonprofit, to be honest. And I'm in year 10, and we did something. This is actually really cool. I'd like to share with everybody. Jose Wehebe, as we all know, was an amazing angler. Had an amazing show on TV. It was so popular worldwide, and unfortunately he died in a plane crash. Well, his daughter Chrissy, as equally amazing, she started a foundation in her dad's name, and they actually sponsored us for 2 weeks. I could never afford to do this ever. I take kids on head boats because I get really good discounts. Cost me $25 to take a kid fishing. I make it very economical. They got a house for us for 2 weeks, and I had 3 groups of 10 come in, 8 to 10 come in, and we got to go inshore fishing. They paid for all the charters. Offshore fishing, which was phenomenal, catching mahi, amberjack, wahoo. I mean, it was so fun. And these kids got to have that kind of experience, because of Chrissy and the Jose Wehebe Foundation.
Wow.
That, definitely, like I said, that's not something that came out of my budget because, it's way smaller. But it's just been incredible. And just seeing these kids catch their first fish and being on a boat and seeing dolphins and learning about conservation, like, why aren't we keeping that fish? Well, it's not in season, or it's not big enough, or, whatnot. They're learning something and making that connection with nature and gaining self-confidence as well. It's just the greatest thing in the world.
So cool. Yeah, I've had Chrissy on the podcast before, and it's great that the work
She's
that they
wild.
do.
She's awesome. I can only imagine. I'm going to have to go back and listen
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah, after Hurricane Ian hit, and we did our first couple months stint down in Fort Myers, I got introduced to a restaurant chain down there called FK or Diet. Have you heard of that?
You know what? I feel like I've heard of it, but I've never been there.
So it's kind of funny. The FK actually stands for foster kids. And
Really?
yeah, and the guy that runs it, it's all foster kids that work at the restaurants
No
in the
way.
kitchen. It's really cool story. You should check it
Oh,
out.
I have to go down there.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm not that far.
there's one in Cape Coral as well. I don't know how many different locations they have, but yeah, look it up. There might be some tie-in there
Oh
for
my
you.
gosh, that is so cool. 100%.
Awesome.
A lot of people don't realize how many kids are in foster care. I mean, there's
Yeah.
hundreds of thousands. And sometimes I'll do a fishing trip and it'll be an entire family of kids,
Mm.
like 5 siblings, a variety of ages from like 6 up. And I'm like, what the heck's going on? And, it can be a lot of times it's because of drug use in the home and the kids aren't being taken care of, abuse. I've heard, I don't want to make your listeners cry. Some of the boys shared some of their stories with me in the Keys, like the most horrific thing that you could ever think of in your head, like you'd see in a movie. They're telling me happened to them, and it's horrible, and it's sad, that there's so many kids. But the thing that I want them to think about is, especially these rod and reel companies, Bass Pro, these boat companies, that's hundreds of thousands of kids that aren't going to be engaged in the outdoors, that aren't going to be your future clients if people like me and you guys and the listeners. I know there's a lot of people that do a lot of stuff, but if we're not fostering that relationship for them in the outdoors, whether it's fishing, hunting, boating, hiking, biking, whatever, it's not going to happen. And it's not going to happen for big generations of kids.
Yeah.
There isn't anybody to take them. We all went with somebody usually in our family.
Yep. That's a great point. I think one thing that if I recall Chrissy talking about was, the other part of it is when you get these kids out and doing fishing and outdoor activities, that's usually when they kind of open up and they might share something with you that they would never talk about or share with anyone else. And so that's
absolutely
an important piece of it as well.
And too, think about this. They have like so many bad memories. Corday, I mean, he could have talked for days about all the horrible stuff he was telling us. And I listened and it's horrible. But I mean, now he gets to talk about something cool. Like I caught a 20-pound amberjack. I got to go offshore on a really nice boat and the captain was amazing. And he taught us how to troll and we bottom fished and we did this. And, he's still going to have those bad memories, but at least we gave him some good new ones.
Yeah. And that could be life-changing.
Exactly. So, I mean, sometimes that stuff's going to creep up. And I told the kids, I'm like, this could be you guys. These kids were older, more than likely they're going to age out. They're not going to get adopted. But I'm like, you guys can have good jobs, do awesome stuff. And this could be your vacation. This is something you can do for you and your girlfriend or boyfriend when you're older, or your family. I said, this isn't out of your reach, and it's just giving them a different point of view and just showing them a different lifestyle. And they loved it. When we fish all day, exhausted. They're sleeping in the car on the way home. As soon as we get back to the house, they're fishing off the seawall till dark. They were awesome. They loved it.
That's so cool. Well, I hear you might have some big announcements coming up. Is there any details that you can share?
So, yeah, I mean, there's some great things when we kind of steer back over to let's take it outside. I'm in the midst of wrapping up season 5, which, is incredible. And I'm just very grateful. I started out on Fox Sports, and now I'm on 12 different networks, including Discovery Channel, which blows my mind. Awesome. I am finally cool to my kids, so that's a big perk. And, I just signed a deal with Wild TV, which is the biggest network in the outdoors in Canada. So I'm really excited about that too. So we'll start airing the season 5, which is awesome. So many good things. We went to Costa Rica, fished in the Cameron Islands. You were talking about walleye earlier. I caught my first walleye up on the Niagara River, fishing in Niagara, those fish are crazy. Yeah. It's so weird. The bite up there, I call it polite. I'm like, I think I have a bite. Fish down here are savage in Florida. Up there, I'm like, I think I have a bite. And they're like, yeah, check. I'm like, then I have like a big 3-foot lake trout on. I'm like, okay, that's crazy. Down here, it's, savage down here. But it's, just so many great places and lots of fun things to enjoy from, it's more than just fishing. I'm zip lining, biking, hiking, kayaking, dodging alligators in an airboat, stuff fun like that, But yeah, so season starts coming up in August. It'll air on Discovery first, and then it trickles down to all the other networks. But just really cool. And for our last season 4, a big deal. And at first, I didn't realize what a big deal it was, to be honest. We won a Silver Telly Award. And that's incredible. And I was like, well, wow, that's really neat in the travel and tourism kind of media, which I would say my show's an outdoor adventure travel show. And we won a silver. And it didn't really hit me what a big deal it was until I saw who I lost to and who else won silver. I came in at silver. Nat Geo won a gold. I'm like, wow. I feel okay losing to Nat Geo. I should lose to Nat Geo. And the other people that won silvers were Chip and Joanna Gaines for a show on the Magnolia Network that they produced. So I'm like, I'm in good company here. I'm like, this is a much bigger deal than I realized, So so pretty cool.
That's
and
awesome.
It's amazing, and waiting for my trophy to come. Very exciting because it's international. It's worldwide. Almost every country, submits stuff. It's submitted from all over the world. So really amazing. And we're also in the running for an Emmy as well. So, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Fingers crossed. That would be amazing.
I know, but to reach those kind of hurdles and heights, that soon into it really is a blessing. As you know, nothing comes easy. It's a lot of hard work, but I'm very grateful. It's amazing.
Well, very cool. I know your initiatives rely heavily on support from sponsors. Would you like to give a shout out to any sponsors who've been particularly supportive?
Actually, I work with a lot of destinations. And of course, my hometown, Visit St. Pete Clearwater, has always supported me in filming and just everything that I do. So, I really am grateful for that. I mentioned fishing in Niagara and working with, Visit Niagara USA destination. They're just incredible. And I just, I'm very grateful. I don't want to bore your listeners with some laundry list of everything, but and one thing that was, again, really special this year was I had never been to Costa Rica. And going to Costa Rica and staying at Crocodile Bay, which is really far south, almost on the border of Panama. Man, if you have never been to Costa Rica, it was my first trip. I'm definitely, working to go back. It's awesome. I was down in the Osa Peninsula. You're in the rainforest. It was cool. And I mean, honestly, Crocodile Bay was awesome. You're really far out of the city and there's not a lot around there. So you're really immersed into Costa Rica. It was pretty awesome.
Nice. I might have to add that to my bucket list, it sounds like.
Yes. And for ecotourism, oh my gosh, we're headed offshore. I wanted to go try and catch a rooster fish. Fingers crossed, hope that it would happen. You guys will have to tune in and see if it happened or not. But on the way out, we ran into a whole pod of whales.
Oh,
and
wow.
who knows? Maybe we will beat Nat Geo, because our footage that we got with our drone is super Nat Geo footage. Like, I was just like, I can't believe this is my show and we got to see this. And it was incredible. And then how they find the tuna there. We were fishing for yellowfin tuna the next day. They're like, oh, there's a pod of dolphins. And I don't mean like mahi-mahi dolphin. I mean dolphins. And so the dolphins and the tuna work together. Now think about this. One's a mammal and one's a fish. Okay? They work together on a school of bait. So they help each other. So if you find the dolphins, you're going to find the yellowfin tuna, because they're all working a school of bait. Like, that just blew my mind.
That is very cool.
Yeah, it's so cool. Mammals and fish, and just it's so neat. It's so eco diverse there. And I think I was only there 5 days, and I just didn't want to leave. It was awesome.
Well, I can't wait to tune in.
It's good. It's 2 episodes, but it just doesn't do it justice. I think we need to plan a trip to Costa Rica.
Oh my gosh. Sounds amazing.
Yeah, we'll do a live podcast from there.
There you go. Absolutely.
Right?
Well,
that'd be fun. We're putting that on our list.
Yep, there we go. Well, before we wrap up, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Now, I really want to encourage everybody to, whether it's in your comfort zone or out of it, it's really important to just get out and possibly try new things. Try it with your kids, your friends. Make some great friends. We've known each other for a long time, and you just make some great friends in the outdoors. And don't worry about your skill level. Trust me, I'm still doing stuff I have no clue. And just have a good time. Hopefully, you guys will be intrigued as well to watch my show called Let's Take It Outside. And you can, on demand 24/7 on the Hunt channel, on Waypoint TV, and also on Carbon. Discovery Go, if you guys have that. The first 3 that I mentioned are totally free. And I have my show on there, all my seasons. And also there's so much other great outdoor content on all of those networks as well. So hopefully you guys will be intrigued to tune in and view some of the shows. I'd love to get some feedback. And I'm hoping when you come to Florida that we're going to bend a rod together.
I hope so. It's like this conversation. That's a long time in the making as well. So
I know we haven't even fished together, but that's okay. That's going to change. I'd say we make the commitment before this year's up that we fish together.
Let's do it.
I know some good spots down in Fort Myers.
Awesome. Well, I will. I'll share a link to your website, which is mistywells.com.
Correct.
Lots of great resources there. And then also realfuture.com, which real is REEL, of course.
Yes.
So I encourage people to support what you're doing with that as well. And I just want to thank you for being here and all the amazing work you do. And thanks to the listeners for tuning in.
Absolutely. And thank you for we made it happen. Been waiting for years to get on this podcast. So I'm really grateful that I got to be a part of it. You have an amazing show. I know you have so many fans, and you've had some great people on your show. So I'm glad to be part of it. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.